What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be taking a closer look at the Brigand's Law legendary sidearm introduced into Destiny 2 within Season of Plunder. Guys, I think this is in contention for one of the best general purpose PvE primary weapons in the entire game, and I certainly think you could make the argument that this is the best arc primary for PvE in the entire game right now. And we're actually going to be taking a look at the other general purpose heavy hitter PvE primaries that you see absolutely everywhere, used in so many builds, and talk about where the Brigand's Law actually beats them and some other places where it maybe falls behind. Like, is this something you should really be investing your time and resources crafting, leveling up, putting on enhanced perks, and so on? Well, first things first, what makes the Brigand's Law so good? Because again, this is a sidearm, and we really haven't seen sidearms make such a splash in the PvE meta since the Last Hope was a thing. But the Brigand's Law comes with a brand new perk, Voltshot, and this makes all the difference. So this says reloading this weapon after defeating a target overcharges this weapon for a short period of time, causing it to jolt on its next hit. Now, Jolt is a brand new ARC 3.0 keyword, and enemies affected by Jolt, as you can see from the background gameplay, will shoot out electricity to other nearby enemies, basically instantly killing them if you're in any sort of normal level content. So it's kind of like a dragonfly effect where it harms nearby enemies, but in some ways so much better. Certainly the range can be insane, like the Jolt arcs can sometimes travel really far distances to hit those enemies, and also it does way more damage. Like, I'll see enemies survive a dragonfly explosion quite often. With Jolt, it really does go for the kill. So it's a very, very effective perk when you can get it going. Now, it does require a little bit more of an activation in the sense that you need to get a kill with the weapon behaving completely normally, and then you also need to reload, and then in that next reloaded state, you can start to chain. But again, it really is a chain because you can really easily get a kill on a jolted target, and then that counts when you reload the weapon again, so it's going to be jolting another target, and you reload again, so you can continue the jolts. As long as you're getting a kill with Voltshot, again, super easy to do, you'll just continually re-up Voltshot every time you reload. So, Bungie introduced Voltshot to be ARC's crowd control perk, because they had already done that with Void and Solar, and each time they did, it was so powerful, it warped the entire meta around it. So, with the Witch Queen, we had Void and the introduction of volatile rounds. What was the best primary in the entire game at that point? Well, most people would say it was the Funnel Web, a Void weapon that could take advantage of these volatile rounds, mainly due to a seasonal perk where picking up a Void Elemental Well would give you volatile rounds on your Void weapon. And volatile rounds, when you can activate them, they are insane. Like, you can see, you melt through enemies, it just absolutely destroys any nearby enemies. Against a singleton target, it will continuously explode over and over and over again, massively increasing your DPS. Volatile rounds are so much better than Voltshot, it's not even funny, but you can't get volatile rounds, at least not yet, as a perk on a weapon. Now, the only way to activate it is to specifically equip a fragment that lets you throw a grenade and then activate volatile rounds. Now, when you do this, it's, again, unbelievably powerful, but because you have to jump through so many hoops to get it going, you have to be playing a Void subclass. I think overall Voltshot might just be the better general option. Now, the solar version of all of this is, of course, Incandescent. And again, that was introduced last season, and you have stuff like the Callus Mini Tool warping the meta around it. Last season, the Callus Mini Tool was the best PvE general purpose primary in the entire game. It's still nutty. So how does that compare to the Brigand's Law with Voltshot? Well, Incandescent doesn't require you to get a reload or anything. You just kill a target and that target will kind of explode and spread scorch to all nearby enemies. That's going to do damage over time to those enemies, and if you build up enough scorch stacks, they will incinerate, causing a big area of effect explosion. Now, right off the bat, a key difference I noticed is that, again, Voltshot will only electrocute like 4 or 5 nearby enemies, whereas Incandescent doesn't care. There could be 20 enemies all around. You kill one with Incandescent, the rest 19 will be affected by Scorch. And the advantage of that is what you're seeing at the entrance here to Shirochi. I kill a few guys and they all start exploding and it just decimates every single thrall here, whereas with the Brigand's Law and Voltshot, it took me a lot longer because, again, it's capped at how many enemies you can kill. However, when you are scorching an enemy, if you're not chaining that incandescent explosion, then you're just causing a little bit of damage over time. So if you kill one enemy, the next nearby enemy is still alive. I mean, it's taking damage, it's easier to kill, but it's still coming at you. Whereas with Voltshot, you're going to electrocute those nearby enemies, they just die. Again, in normal level content, it's an instant kill. Additionally, whereas Incandescent might be better for tightly grouped enemies, Voltshot seems to electrocute enemies from much further away than what an incandescent explosion can reach to. And something else I noticed is that, wow, it's actually a lot easier to take down bigger enemies with the Brigand's Law. And that's because Voltshot will actually trigger when the enemy is still alive. You can see when I slow down this footage, I'm fighting this knight, he gets affected by Jolt and then damages nearby targets and seemingly himself, so it increases single target DPS, and then when I actually kill the knight, it seemingly does another Jolt interaction, again damaging other enemies nearby. So whereas Incandescent does literally nothing until I actually kill that enemy, Voltshot will increase the damage against that target and also harm nearby targets in the process of damaging that, yellow bar boss, for example. Not to mention, rapid-fire sidearms are no slouch in the damage output department. They actually match that of rapid-fire SMGs. They do double the damage, but shoot half as fast. Now, they do have significantly smaller magazine sizes. I mean, natively, the Brigand's Law only has 15. But considering Voltshot wants you to be reloading as much as possible, this actually isn't as big of a downside as it normally is. And so I think there are several areas where the Voltshot Brigand's Law clearly beats the Callous Mini Tool. And we all know the Callous Mini Tool with Incandescent is one of the best PvE primaries in the entire game. So what does that say about the Brigand's Law? I'm not quite prepared to say that the Brigand's Law is like the best primary clearly in the game, because right now with the introduction of Void 3.0, Arc 3.0, Solar 3.0, what weapons you use are often so dependent on what build you're using. You want to match elements very often, right? So, it's hard to say, oh yeah, if you're playing a solar build, use the Brigand's Law, but if you're running something like a Charge with Light build and you don't care about elemental synergies, yeah, it honestly might be the right play depending on what content you're doing. And certainly, I would say, coming out of this season, you 100% want a Voltshot Brigand's Law. It is very powerful, and if they ever introduce a 900 RPM SMG with Voltshot, holy crap, the community is gonna go nuts. But what should you craft onto your Brigand's Law aside from Voltshot? Well, here's what I did. Firstly, for the frame, I went for the range boost because this archetype severely lacks range. I went with small bore for an increase to range and stability, just good general purpose. Then I did go with appended mag because the few extra rounds are nice even if you're reloading quite often. Then you want a reload speed increase. So you could choose between Feeding Frenzy, Threat Detector, or even Perpetual Motion. All would be good, but I did end up going with Enhanced Feeding Frenzy. You need to get a kill and reload to activate the perk. So that does work with Feeding Frenzy, and when you do get a Voltshot trigger and it kills like 3 nearby enemies, that does often count towards your Feeding Frenzy times 5. So you'll get a really fast reload speed increase after that. Sometimes it didn't work. I think it's just coded a little poorly, but often it does work. So that's why I went with it. Now, after that, of course, Voltshot, and if you have the resources, Enhanced Voltshot is just going to increase the time it's active. So, normally, you get a kill, you reload, you have 6 seconds to trigger Voltshot. With Enhanced, you have 7 seconds. So really not the biggest deal. Don't waste your resources if you don't want to. However, obviously, if you lose the Voltshot chain, it sucks pretty hard. So just having that 1 extra second can make the difference in continuing that chain of spreading around that extra damage. And so guys, there you go. That is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.